We are first responders as well. We had to come and respond to the mental health and the education of our kids who were secluded for a year and a half during this time, and I know the burnout that I have seen in this room, and also the racial attacks on our program because we are METCO communities.
Quick shout out to METCO, really a shout out to all of you, because over the last 2 years, as Millie just said, nobody has had to pivot on a day-to-day basis like all of you did, and all your peers that aren't here. And you did it with resiliency, you did it with passion. So on behalf of my family, thank you all for what you do, what you did the last 2 years and what you do every day.
Superintendents, please stand up. METCO directors, HR managers, headquarters staff, assistant superintendents, principals, please stand up.
I'm hoping to invite you into the urgency of the moment. We've got to get this right. Because as much as I see that we come maybe working through a pandemic and some folks have been able to take their masks off, all it reminds us is that there are many of us who are still wearing the mask because indeed we always have.
Back when George Floyd was killed in 2020, we all came together to Hyde Park as a METCO community in a moment of solidarity.
A radical mandate that each and every day you will work on creating an equal, just, welcoming, and safe environment for our students of color. That you understand the power that you hold in your hands in the positions that you were given, and that power can redefine how your school community raises the next generation of our youth.
It's our opportunity and our responsibility to make sure that we create the conditions, the promise of a better and more just world. And it's clearly difficult work. And it's also joyful work. And on behalf of the board, thank you for assuming this responsibility, and thank you for your joyful service to our students and their families.
I think what's really amazing is that, we know that doing this anti-racist work is tough, it's hard, it's, ongoing work, but there are many districts who are doing great work, and this is just an example of some of the exemplary work that you're going to hear about today, of leaders and directors who are partnering with districts to get this work done.
Knowing that this young lady endured all sorts of racially charged comments, I sent an email to the district and said, listen, my child was not safe. She wasn't safe for the entire basketball game. Adults in that space didn't act appropriately. And I said, we're not coming back to your district until you resolve the issue.
My district's pre-K through 12 Cultural Competency Committee and our newly formed School Committee, DEI Subcommittee, began conversations centered on how we develop an anti-racist framework for our district and for our educators. Define what it means to be an anti-racist school district, and really what anti-racist competencies we needed to adopt to reflect our values in this work of diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, and anti-racist action.
There was no late bus for our METCO students. This is a non-negotiable. Well, that has to change. And it's just not enough for these students to only come to their classes, right? Being a student in Linfield is about the entire experience. It's about being a part of the community. And without a late bus, it's impossible. It started on April 5th, which was our first day of full in-person, and it hasn't stopped. So we have 100% of our high school students are participating in after-school activities since we and our GPA has gone up almost an entire percentage point since we started doing this. So it works.
We have a high school group called Let's Talk About Race, Culture, and Ethnicity. And one of our beliefs in Westwood is that students as leaders is really important for us. and really building students' capacity to understand their identity, understand the impact of their identity, and understand how that impact shows up in different spaces that they enter.
Family friend. You have a town community that is welcoming these students from the city of Boston into their communities, and so they recruit actively resident families who agree to host the students for different events at their home after school, assisting them with participating in different activities in the town, which is a great asset to have. Where the Family Friends program takes it a step further is it looks at building the authenticity of those relationships.
First of all, it's a paid internship for high school students. Many of the high school kids, we are looking to attract this program. They need summer work and they need well-paid summer work. And I think that's a critical component. We want to make sure folks can save for college, can contribute to their household, do the things that they need to do, and learn a few things.
She is training to be a superintendent of schools, and I think she's the future. Came from a university background previously, and so what's the number one thing that everyone's going to say when she's either appointed to a principalship or a superintendent? She never taught public school, right? So fine, let's get rid of that barrier. She taught classes and was the principal of the summer school. Done. And what are the barriers? Is it a mental barrier about your self-perception as an educator? Is it a mental barrier about money? Is it a mental barrier about your preparation? So sort of finding what that is.
How to diversify our staff. I looked at our students, and as they were graduating, approaching graduation, just really having conversations with them about their goals, what they were interested in doing, allowing them to see different aspects of work of education, because really it's just looking at who's sitting in front of us and how we can grow them.
We've got best practices going. 2.0 METCO can definitely happen, and I'm excited about this work. Racism is bold. In the last couple of years, people just feel like they can just say and do whatever to anyone. But guess what? METCO can be bolder. And I think it's time for us to come back. We're hoping that every METCO community can try to adopt a system of bringing about change, which includes everybody having an equity audit, everybody having foundational training in anti-racism, and then developing our own continuum of practice that belongs to the METCO program, and then working on a problem of practice every year where you can actually try to move needles.
Diversity is just a statistical enumeration of difference, and to me, it's a hollow prize. To wit, you can have a number of folks of color in a place and it still be incredibly racist. You can hire a number of women and promote them to leadership and the culture be entirely sexist. We have to confront culture before we talk about diversity. This is a confrontation with culture. How important is cultural fit to our community? It's not about just addressing the beauty of integrating or desegregating schools. It's asking about the center of education, since it was never intended for the people who sit in this room.